Hello everyone, this is Shruti Srivastav from BTech ITDS Semester 5, and today I am going to talk about object views using object-oriented programming in SQL. So let us first figure out what an object actually is. Objects are the building unit or the backbone of relational databases, and they are used to store or hold reference to a data. Some examples of these being tables or indexes or sequences. Now, let us dive into object view. What is an object view? Well, it is a virtual object table in which you can either create using built-in or user-defined types to create a virtual object table. This provides us the ability for restricted data access. Now, how do you define an object view? Well, to define an object view, we first define an object type that the object view rows are going to represent. And then we write an SQL query for the function you want to perform on the data. Then we specify an object identifier based on the attributes of the data to ref the object rows of the object view. Now you can write instead of trigger procedure for Oracle to execute whenever an application program tries to update data in object view. The syntax of defining object view is first we write create view and then the view name, and then we write select and choose whichever column we want to include in the object view. Then we specify the table name in the from clause, and then where uh, we specify the condition that the object data has to contain. Now, let us see that with an practical execution. Here, as you can see, I'm using Live SQL to perform these queries, and as you can see, I have already written some queries. Now, let me walk you through it. So, here we have a table by the name emp table, and with attributes as empnum, which is employee ID basically, ename, in which we insert the employee name, and then salary, and then job. Then we have inserted some data into this table to perform these queries. Now let us run this query. First we created the table, and now we insert these values. As you can see, the rows are inserted. So now let us run this query and see how our table actually looks. As you can see, we have 5 entries as mentioned here, and we have the names in sequence with salaries and their job. So now as our data table is created, so now we create an object view. And to create an object view, as I mentioned, first we define the object type and then we create the object view. So here we have created an object type. Now let us run and see if this runs. As you can see, the object type is created. I have specified all the attributes here for this type, and now we create the object view. And in this object view, I have named it as emp view1, and here OID is as emp number, and I have selected all the columns as you can see, or attributes as you may like to mention, and in the where clause I have mentioned the condition as job equal to developer. That is, only the developer job criteria should be visible. That is only one entry, as we have created only one developer job. Now let's see if this can be created. As you can see, the view is created. So let us try and see how this actually looks, or whether this is actually applicable or not. As you can see, we have got our view as only the developer, as mentioned in the condition. So our query has been successful. Now, as you have mastered how to create an object view in using SQL, you might want to spice it up a little, and you might want to make some changes in it, or update it, delete some values. So, can you do that? Well, let us look at updating object views for that. Like normal tables or other objects in databases, in object view, you can also perform basic functions of update or delete, etc., using the same SQL DML, that is data manipulation language, you use for object tables. It is basically very simple. Oracle updates the base table of the object view if there is no ambiguity, that is, there is no discontinuity. A view is not updatable if the view query contains joins, set operators, group functions, group by, or distinct. And if a view query contains pseudo columns, that is, they don't really exist, or expressions, the corresponding view columns are not updatable. So, the syntax for the same is to create or replace view. We use this, and then we uh, type the view name, and then as, and then select, as we mentioned, the attributes, and in the from clause we mention the table name again, and in the where clause we specify the condition that you can also update this condition if you have already created the view. So let us look at this practical execution. So in our execution part, we have already seen that we have created the table and inserted the values, created the object type, and then we have created the view. So now what we have to do is we have to update this view. So let's first look at how our view looks. So as you can see, our view currently has just one entry, which specifies the condition the job is developer. So now we want to update this job and change it to accountant. So what we have to do is follow the syntax, create or replace view, and then we specify the view name, that is empview1, as we have mentioned. And then we use the as and select, and we use our attributes that we want to mention in the object view, and then in from we enter the table name that we have specified as the data entry, and in where clause we update the job as accountant. So now let us see whether this query is successful or not. As you can see, the view is created. This is the updated view. Now let us see if this view has actually worked or not. So here you can see that our view has been updated and the job has changed from developer to an accountant. And as we have two accountants, the data now has two entries. Hence, our query was successful. Now say you have to delete this view and you want to create an altogether new view and you want to delete it. So we use the drop view for that, and we specify the view name that we want, that we have been using for all this while, and now we run it and the view has been dropped. So now you can create another view uh, with some other conditions. So now that we have updated and dropped the view, now let us see its usage. So data in the rows of an object view may come from more than one table, but the object still traverses the network in one operation. You can also define object views on other object views. That is, you can have nested object views. You can refer to object views in SQL statements the same way you refer to an object table. You can access object view data on client side using the OCI calls you use for object from object tables. Basically, the queries you use for object tables also apply for object views. Now, to look at some advantages that the object views present us. Using object view can lead to better performance. They provide the flexibility of looking at the same relation or object data in more than one way. Object views provide a gradual migration path for legacy data. They provide for coexistence of relational and object-oriented operations, which are not very feasible in some other language. And these object views follow simple DML commands that object tables use and are hence user-friendly, and anyone can implement them. So that's all that I have to say about object views, and hope this was of help. Thank you for listening.